So welcome to this video, which is purposely meant as just a warm-up video for the mornings. It's not particularly meant for any sport-specific exercise or any sort of stretching or mobility regime. It's literally just something that you can do in the morning just to get your body going. So if you haven't got yourself into a good routine, it's a good practice just to get your body moving. So what I want you to do first of all is begin by making sure that you're somewhere where you can see the screen. So pop your iPad or put it on your TV. And we're just going to begin by getting ourselves upright, shaking out your arms, get yourselves nice and comfortable. We're going to plant our feet both facing forwards, and we're just going to begin by standing up nice and tall, opening up our palms sideways, so opening out the chest. And then we're going to raise our arms up above our heads to 45 degrees, bend the arms back down, and then lower them down. So as you're doing these exercises, one of the most important things I want you to focus on is just your breathing. So just make sure you're breathing. I'm not going to be too prescriptive about when to breathe. I just want to make sure that you're taking long, slow, deep inhales, holding your breath somewhere, and then exhaling whenever you feel comfortable. So while you're doing this drill, you're thinking about standing tall, breathing in as you open the arms up to about 45 degrees, bending the arms down, allowing the arms to come back down forwards and then straightening them. None of these exercises or movements should feel painful. So now I've gone into some backwards rotations with the shoulders. So I'm just rotating those shoulders backwards, nice big circles, opening up those shoulders, and then I'm going to bring them forwards as well. So giving them a nice big move. Again, standing nice and tall through the legs, making sure I'm breathing as I do so, and then finishing with some back circles. I always prefer to finish with back circles just because it feels like it sets my posture in a better position. Next up, I'm going to take my feet slightly wider, and I'm just going to start to have a little explore side to side. So hands on my hips, just moving my hips side to side to start off with, and then some very small circles. Now, as I'm doing these small circles, I am just trying to feel out what's going on at my lower back and my hips. I'm not trying to push the range of movement too far. Doing a couple of circles one way, and then slowly and gently going the other way as well. And as I go on, I start to increase the range of movement as I feel is comfortable. And I might start playing around with freestyling a bit, so going side to side, forwards and backwards. I might do some sort of semicircles, some quarter circles, moving side to side, but just really opening up those hips and getting that lower back and those hips moving, and just getting that sensation of the balance through the feet, so that whole body connection. So next up, I'm going to reach side to side. So I'm just opening up, keeping my posture nice and tall, and just reaching my arms from one side to the other. I'm also looking and turning my head and my shoulders the way that I'm reaching round. And again, just trying to synchronize this with my breathing. So just moving nice and steady, side to side, reaching. I'm then going to take my opposite hand to my opposite thigh and then reach up and across. I'm just going to hold it there for a second. So reaching down like I'm reaching to my pocket, and then opening up and across. So I'm kind of getting like a rotational effect from that right arm, left pocket, all the way up as if I'm reaching up to the side. And then I'm going to switch arms. So now I'm going to reach with my left hand down to my right pocket, and then opening up diagonally, opening up my chest, opening up my posture, again staying comfortable, not really pushing into anything more than mobility rather than an elongated stretch, but just moving my body and getting my back and my legs just used to moving in that direction. So doing this a few times on each side, again making sure that I relax and breathe. Next up, I'm going to start my roll down. So I'm going to start off just by looking upwards and then dropping my chin down to my chest. And that's where I'm going to start. I'm then going to look upwards a bit more, drop my chin down to my chest and slowly roll my shoulders. And what I'm doing is progressively going from looking upwards to rolling down a little bit further each time. And what I'm trying to do is move from the top part of the back as opposed from anywhere else. So each time my kind of reset position is looking upwards, and then bit by bit you'll notice how I'm putting my chin on my chest and rolling my shoulders down and trying to get a bit more bend in the top part of the back and the lower part of the back, reaching down towards my legs. As I come forwards, I'm keeping the knees soft, so I'm not putting any strain through the legs. It's not a hamstring stretch. It's more just a natural forward fold as I go down towards my feet. So I'm just taking my time with this. Once again, breathing, looking upwards, opening up the neck, and then coming down, reaching down towards the floor until I can get my hands flat on the floor, or not flat, but just touching. I'm making sure I'm bending my knees each time I do that. So it's just giving my spine a bit of flexion, as if I'm reaching down to do my shoelaces, but I'm just priming that movement by moving forwards and backwards. I'm now going to step back, and when I step back, I'm going to put myself into a position where I am in my down dog position. So if you know your your cow-cat position, I've got my hands underneath my shoulders and my knees under my hips. I'm just going to start off by looking through my legs as I breathe out, and then slowly looking upwards and arching my back. So I'm getting a nice stretch through the top of the spine, so the cervical spine, the thoracic spine, the top part, which is where my ribs are and my shoulders. And then I'm also tucking my tailbone underneath as well. So I'm getting a lovely stretch all the way from the top of my head, my shoulders, all the way through to my bum, tucking my tailbone underneath. And most of you guys who've done Pilates or some sort of yoga will get this as like your cow-cat stretches, just moving side to side. So next up, I'm going to outstretch one of my legs. And all I'm going to do is simply straighten the leg out with the toe down and then drop the knee down. So I'm doing a very gentle stretch, just opening out the right leg to start off with, and just making sure that I keep balanced as I do so. So keeping weight equal through my left and right hand. And then, as I feel more comfortable to, once I straighten out that right leg, I'm going to open out my left arm and reach. So it's almost like the precursor to doing your bird dog, if you know what that is, or the Superman reaches. I'm just stretching out that leg, giving it a move, and getting used to reaching out with the opposite hand. So switching legs and now going over to the other leg, same thing again, just gently putting the toes into a strong position and then straightening that back leg. And if you've got any injuries, please stay comfortable. Don't push into any pain, but just work with what mobility you've got. Once again, I'm starting to bring the right arm into the equation now. So as I straighten that left leg down, I'm reaching the right arm forwards. And I'm also recruiting and learning how to switch on the muscles that go down the back of my spine and across. So again, not only am I warming up the movement, but I'm warming up the appropriate muscles that I might use. So I'm now going to go down into a lazy child's pose. And I'm not stopping there long before pushing my hips up. Now, when I push my hips up, I'm not going into an extended position. So I'm not going into an up dog. I'm simply bringing my hips in line with my shoulders and my knees, as if I'm going to do a press up from my knees. So I'm moving forwards and backwards, elongating the spine through the back. And at any point now, I am actually going to start to have a play around with bending the arms. But to start off with, I'm just sitting my bum back down towards my heels, giving my back a nice steady move, and then now I'm starting to put my arms into it. So varying, depending on how strong you are, you can go right down to the floor and push back up. But if you feel that you struggle with that, just have a gentle bend of the arms, so you're moving forwards and you're going from your child's pose, leaning backwards, to a press-up position. I'm now varying the movement by dropping my hips down. So this is more now like a roll down, like I would do from a burpee position. But again, I'm just adding some variance to the spine. So I'm letting my hips drop down, raising my chest. There's no pain here at all. I'm moving comfortably, and I'm just getting used to letting the body move in its natural way, as if I was rolling up from that position. I'm now going to bend my arms. I'm going to start to take some weight through the shoulders. And again, This is just moving slightly differently, very similar to what we were doing before, bending the legs back, so sending my bum towards my heels and then putting weight through my shoulders. And once I've done that a few times, I'm going to keep my hips in line with my knees this time. So rather than leaning back, and I'm going to have a play around with what's similar to our cat-cow, but moving my back from this position. So my hands outstretched, my hips over my knees, and I'm just giving that lower back, the lumbar spine, a bit of a flex and a bit of an extend. So just opening out these positions. So again, this is nothing aggressive at all, but all I'm doing is just moving the body in a nice controlled manner just to warm up the muscles, and I'm breathing as much as I can so I can send that oxygen in and around the body. I'm now going to sit through, and I'm going to bring myself lying down on my back, and I'm just going to do the classic knees side to side. So I'm allowing my knees to fall side to side, gently dropping them from one side to the other. No stress here at all, allowing the lower back to get a bit of a stretch while simultaneously keeping my shoulders on the ground and only going as far as I feel comfortable. So I'm not pushing into the movement at all. I'm just allowing my knees to fall from one side to the other, nice and gently. Relaxing, breathing, and giving that spinal rotation at the appropriate point, and allowing any structures that do feel tight just to relax as I breathe through them. So very nice for your lower back. I'm now going to incorporate my arms a bit, so I'm going to have a go at reaching overhead. If you've got any shoulder issues here, just go down as far as you feel comfortable. But I'm going to have a play around with opening my arms out, opening out my legs, and then also taking my hands overhead whilst opening out my legs. So my legs are always doing the same thing, which is I'm bringing them in close together and then opening them out, but I'm varying my arm position, which is on one repetition I'm taking them up overhead, and on the next repetition I'm opening them out to the side. And again, I'm just coordinating a bit of shoulder and hip activity together, just because we know that our shoulders and our hips like to work together as a team. Now I'm going to pull my knees in, just giving them a rock backwards and forwards, not forcing the movement, but this is quite nice for your lower back just to feel that kind of stretch. And then I'm just gently starting to extend my legs. So if you've got tight hamstrings, you might not be able to go too far with this, but that's fine. And then keeping my hands on my knees, I'm going to gently go into a bit of a cycle action. So I'm just cycling forwards, cycling backwards, allowing those legs to work in a natural framework. The fitter you are or the stronger you are, the bigger the range of movement you can do. But if you feel comfortable to, just keep it where you feel comfortable, where there's no excess strain on the lower back or the legs. Just get those legs moving in a nice, natural, comfortable way. So I start to push now, I'm changing direction a bit, and now I'm just opening up the legs, giving each leg a bit of an extend towards the ceiling and move them forwards and backwards. I'm now going to move into my leg rotations. So I'm rotating my legs outwards. It's kind of a jiu-jitsu drill just to warm the knees and the hips with this one. So what we've got is lateral rotations, and you can do some rotations out to the side. I've just reversed them so they're now going inside, but it's a nice way just to open out the hips in that position. Once again, pulling the knees in, just giving them a rock forwards and backwards, and then placing my feet on the ground. And I'm just going to go into some classic Pilates bridging. So with my classic Pilates bridge, I am squashing the lower back into the ground and gently pushing the hips up, and I'm making sure that I'm not flaring my rib cage. So this is more focusing on the lower limb, working on the hamstrings, the glutes, the quads, and just trying to lift my hips up from a point of view which is activating everything below the waist and slightly above the waist. I'm going to add some variance into that in a second, and I'm going to do that by changing the way I'm bridging, and I'm going to go more into a jiu-jitsu bridge, which is going to start to flare my ribs upwards. So slightly different now. I'm thinking about trying to get my ribs as high as possible. So I'm going to push through my toes, get my ribs as high, and I'm also not worrying too much about rolling through the back first. So as soon as I push through those toes, I'm getting my hips as high as possible. I can have a little play here from bridging through my heels or bridging through my toes. And again, I'm just adding some variance to the movement to allow for different muscles to switch on. Again, pulling the knees in, doing some nice circles now. So circling around one way, just to loosen out the lower back, and then circling around the other way, just to make sure I'm feeling good. And then I'm going to have a little play with rocking forwards and backwards. So it's quite a nice exercise to do. If you get used to rocking forwards and backwards and keeping that core tension, you can rock yourself forwards and almost land in a perfectly balanced position where your feet aren't on the ground. You can play a little game here and see if you can rock up and then just pause and hold that position. If you get your timing right, you can hold it perfect and then slowly lower yourself back down as you come forwards. So now I'm going to put one leg out straight and I'm going to hug one leg into me, and I'm going to switch legs. So I'm going to make this quite a dynamic bit of mobility, not worrying about stretching too much, but just pulling one leg in, stretching the other leg out, keeping nice and tall, and just giving those legs once again a nice move. So not worrying about holding onto this too long. I'm now going to put some rotation in. So I'm going to use my Russian twist. So I'm planting my feet on the floor and I'm just turning side to side like I'm playing a piano on one side and then playing on the other side. And then just to add to this stretch now, I'm going to go opposite arm to knee, and I'm going to use that opposite arm as an anchor just to help me turn, whilst using the back arm to help me rotate round a little bit further and get some more rotation. All these movements are natural movements, which is why it's a good warm-up to do, because you're not stressing anything in particular, but you are just making sure you're nice and warm. Next up, I'm going to sit nice and tall, pull my heels in, and I'm going to, as always, focus on sitting tall, using my arms, pulling my shoulders back, so sitting tall. And while I'm there, I'm going to give my neck a bit of a move as well. So moving my head forwards and backwards, rolling it side to side, and just trying to disassociate any tension that I might have picked up in my neck whilst I'm doing these exercises. I've been through quite a lot of the body, and very often when you're concentrating quite hard, or if you're focusing on the upper part of the core, the neck can sometimes stiffen up. So we're just disassociating that. Slowly going to go into some hip drills next. So just lifting my hips up as I go into my tabletop position. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a play around, and I'm going to vary the height at which I do my tabletop. Because I know prescriptively a lot of people will go to one position up and down, but it's quite nice just to lift your hips off gently and then bit by bit go up and down and have a play at different heights. See how you feel. Going all the way up, all the way down, coming down slightly, and you can even have a rock through, so bringing your legs straighter as you move. I'm then going to bring myself back up to a standing position, and I'm just going to finish this exercise by doing some deep breaths in, taking my arms on the outside as I come down through the middle, breathing out, again keeping my legs soft. So I'm finishing by bending the legs, deep breath in as I raise my arms up, bringing the hands through the center as I breathe out, bending the legs coming down, opening up as I breathe in, deepest inhale of the day, bringing my hands through the center, bowing, and then finish. So I hope you found that useful, guys, and I hope you have a lovely day. Take care of yourselves and see you soon. Bye.